This right here, that's not Jade Cargill, that's Fade Tar Heel. Okay, y'all, so this is pretty much a random video. I want to do more videos like this, especially now that I've crossed 1,000 subscribers. I want to give you guys more unique, just my personal thoughts on wrestling in different types of ways. But in this particular video, I'm actually responding to a post from Threads. King Hanzu posted, "What are some things that you would change about WWE if you were in charge?" Now, this actually sparked a ton of ideas. I mean, 21 to be exact. I wasn't even sure that I actually hit 21 until I counted, but that's kind of insane. I actually dropped 3 separate comments on this person's post, and they probably think I'm crazy because I kept going. I want to share these ideas with you because I think that you might agree with some of them and might vehemently disagree with others. So without further ado, let's just get into this list because it's a pretty long list.
Lower the ticket prices because I want all these families to come and watch me stand on Roman Reigns' throat.
Cut them damn ticket prices by 75%. Now, I don't even know if that's a fathomable percentage. I don't know. I'm not doing the pricing, but essentially make the tickets more family oriented again. I actually heard the CEO, just like many of you heard the CEO of TKO, mention that he doesn't care about the families. He just wants to get the most profit. He's like, oh, the previous regime, they were worried about families and all that. When we were worried about profit, he said it like that, like being concerned about creating new fans out of families was a bad thing. It blew my mind. Like, you realize you sound like the villain, right? You realize that you're making Vince McMahon sound sane, which is not an easy thing to do. Stop with the AI posters. This right here, that's not Jade Cargill, that's Fade Tar Heel or whoever. That looks nothing like Jade Cargill. As a matter of fact, everybody on this poster don't look like themselves. How the hell do you even get that past the talent? Excuse me, that don't look like me. Who was that? It's so disrespectful to use this AI when you could literally just hire somebody to make a poster. What are you doing? Why are you being so cheap? What the hell is going on? So the AI stuff has got to stop. Stop using content creators in show montages if you're going to ban their content on the social medias. It doesn't make sense to actually shoot your own self in the foot by alienating your own fandom when they're trying to express how excited they are about your product. Or maybe they're not as excited. Maybe they're giving you constructive criticism, which is also valuable. Either way, you're getting the exposure for free. People are willing to go out and create content, edit, pay editors, do all this stuff just to make sure that people can see how they engage with the product that you're creating, and then you ban them, get their content taken down, but then use it in your actual video packages to start the show or your hype packages to talk about a PLE. It's hypocritical as hell. Nobody likes commercials, but I understand why it's necessary. You guys got to pay bills, whatever. And even on Netflix, you would assume that they wouldn't have commercials, but the WWE obviously has a lot of contracts and a lot of ties, and it can't just stop doing commercials during the shows. What I would rather you do is have your little commercials during the show, but upload the full match without commercials, and we can see everything that happened and transpired during that match. Even if you guys want to charge like $1 more, which I would hate because we should just be able to see the full match, or upload the full match onto YouTube. I remember specifically when it was John Cena versus Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship, the match that got interrupted by Brock Lesnar. That match was cooking. It was amazing, but so much stuff happened during the commercial that only I and some others saw because we had VPNs that nobody saw and nobody ever will see because it was during a commercial. Also, speaking of commercials, I would rather you just go to commercial than have the match in that small little box and have the commercial in the big box, right? Either reverse the size of the boxes, have the match in the big box and the commercial in the small box, or just go to commercial. I don't like tired enough to watch this little box and hear about the Clorox. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to hear that. 75% of these shows need to open with a match. Just open with a match. Get people's engagement immediately. I know that you can do that by putting Cody Rhodes out there first or putting Roman out there first, but you know what really get people's juices flowing? A match. You guys put out Javon Evans out there and somebody else. I forget who it was, but you put them out there and people were hype about that match. Also, Javon killed it. You guys put him out there first and he delivered. Do more of that with your younger talent. Put Trick Williams out there first. Put Oba out there first. Have them have a match and let them cook, including the women. Put Roxanne Perez out there first. Like, let's get these people, especially the younger talents, out there first. And if you want to just save the veteran talents, the more popular talents for the middle towards the end of the show. That makes perfect sense. It doesn't need to happen all the time, but I feel like it should happen most of the time. It just gets people engaged. Move the 4-match format to 6 matches on the weekly show. And also the 5-match PLE format, move it to 8 matches. More of these feuds, more of these storylines can progress if you just have more matches, especially in the PLEs. The PLEs are either a blow off, a footnote, or a beginning of a feud in terms of in-ring competition. No, we're not going to get tired out. We want to see these matches, right? We want to see these stories progress. You keep doing these segments where you're having people either do a video package or they're talking backstage, which is very normal for wrestling in general. But wouldn't it make more sense to have more matches? Wouldn't that progress the story more? Isn't every story essentially leading to a match? So let's get more matches on these shows so we can get these stories progressing much faster. And you know what that also does? It also allows you to actually have more women's matches and not having them feel like an afterthought, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Reduce the amount of matches that end in interference. Let niggas lose. People lose. It's okay. You do not have to protect every single wrestler. Cody Rhodes should be able to lose clean and it not be a big deal. Everybody has lost clean. And I know that interference has happened throughout the history of wrestling, but right now it feels like every single match feels predictable because you know somebody, whether it's from their faction or someone else who has another beef with the person who has nothing to do with the beef that the person is actually having with the person that are in the ring right now with. I remember 2 weeks ago, the War Raiders and R-Truth and Damian Priest had their match, a title for title match. I'm like, this is ending in interference because there's no way that they're going to put 2 championships on one of these teams. Even with Randy Orton returning at SummerSlam, which was a great moment, I was a little disappointed that I didn't get to see an actual winner, a definitive winner between Cody Rhodes and CM Punk. I want to see more definitive winners. It's okay for people to lose. They're not going to die. Despite what the IWC tells you about, oh, this person's being buried. This nigga's literally on the show every single week, having matches every single week, getting paid every single week. Find a new script for tag team wrestling. It is literally the same script every time. Cut off half the ring, the person struggles to get the tag, a hot tag happens, there's a blow up, and then the match ends.
It's like missionary position every single night.
Please, let's get the hot tag, not necessarily get the hot tag out of there. Let's cut the matches with the hot tag in half. One of the things I love about something that I saw Kevin Owens do one time was he was in the ring struggling to get to the other half of the ring and just rolled up under the ring, ran around, rolled back into the ring, and then tagged his partner. It was ingenious because why the hell wouldn't you? Let's create some new scripts for tag team wrestling. Do more tornado tag team matches. Those are really fun. Everybody likes tornado tag team wrestling. Actually, I don't know if everybody does, but I know I do. Give the same amount of time, effort, and attention to women's stories as the men's. Part of that is baked within my adding more matches to these individual shows and more matches to these PLEs. If you're going to have 6 matches on the show, if you're going to go from 4 to 6, have half of them be women's matches. If you're going to have 8 matches on the PLEs like you should, then have half of those be women's matches and push their stories forward. Michael Cole says literally every single week Io Sky is the best wrestler on the planet. When she actually had the championship after she retained at WrestleMania, she did not defend her title until Evolution, which was in what, July? So she went from April to July without defending her championship and then lost it in a cash-in to Naomi, which was great. But if she would have defended it at any point in time between WrestleMania and Evolution, it wouldn't feel as though Io got gypped. It's all evident by one particular PLE that you can point to every single year. Survivor Series, War Games. You put a lot of effort into the men's War Games match, but the women's War Games match always feels like a hodgepodge of nothingness. You just feel like you had to do it because you have to appease the women. Don't appease them. Give them value. Give them valuable stories. Don't call nobody up if you don't have a plan for them. Blake Monroe right now has done nothing but Vidi Vidi Vinci type of vignettes. And what happened to him? He rolled up Apollo Crews, I think 2 or 3 times. I don't even forget. No, he got rolled up a couple of times and then got cut. Like, what are y'all doing? Blake Monroe is a good get. She was huge in AEW. Now she's over here and you guys are treating her like she's just kind of a nobody. You're also doing the same thing to Roxanne Perez. Sure, she's on TV every week. I'm not saying that she's being buried. Is she being used to the best of her ability? No, she was called the Prodigy for a reason. She was dope as hell in NXT for a reason. She was a champion for as long as she was for a reason, because she's skilled as hell. And you guys are getting the bare minimum out of a Roxanne Perez, out of a Jordan Grace. You're not even getting nothing out of Jordan Grace because you won't even put her on TV. Julia, you don't even present her well. Why are you bringing these people up if you don't have plans for them? Now you got Oba and Javon and Trick moving in a positive direction. Ethan Page, I would also argue, is moving in a semi-positive direction. He could use a little bit more devious actions with him other than him just talking slick. He also beat Rey Mysterio one-on-one, which is a big deal. You always tell us that you're a company of stories. Figure out a story for them when they come into the fold. I'm excited for Tatum Paxley, but I'm worried that she's going to get lost in the shuffle because the women who have been drafted to SmackDown are mostly in catering, and it doesn't make any damn sense. I'm just going to continue with this NXT thing and saying stop ignoring NXT lore. If you are having a feud between Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams, you say, oh, these guys have a lot of history. Tell the story. There's a lot of people who have not watched NXT and have no idea what the story is between Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. So you just saying, hey, these two have a lot of history from NXT. It doesn't matter if people don't know what that history is. You have all the technology to do the montages that you want to do, and you guys are great at montages. You can build that feud up just by telling us what happened in NXT. You could do the same thing for Ethan Page and Javon Evans, for Javon Evans and Obafemi. Javon Evans has never beaten Obafemi, Bird Lady and Roxanne Perez, Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe. There's a lot of history across the board from these NXT talents, a lot of who are on the same roster together on SmackDown or Raw that you're just not utilizing. Utilize the history. You still have access to all your NXT stuff. It belongs to you, so use it. Huh? Use it. If the nigga get a pop, do not stop. Kit Wilson was getting an organic pop and it just stopped for zero reason other than the fact that he became Danhausen's minion, his Danhausen zombie or what have you. He was literally having people in the crowd swiveling their hips just like him. They were all singing his song. Everybody was really happy with what Kit Wilson was doing. He was doing this poetry thing. He was getting over naturally. And for some reason, the WWE does not like when people get over themselves. They want all the credit. But Kit Wilson was getting over. He's not with his partner anymore because his partner got injured. Fine. He reinvented himself, came back with a dope ass theme, which is very rare for the Death Rebels of the world. Now he's sidelined. For what? Even the Miz is sidelined because of Danhausen. And I'm a Danhausen fan. I like him. Those two are in purgatory and back in catering because you haven't figured out a reason or a way to get them out of the Danhausen curse. So now what are you going to do with them? Kit Wilson was over and now he's done. Why? How, Sway? If you have a stare down, it needs to be resolved and addressed within 21 business days. Because at this point, I don't understand why you've set up so many things that you just have not paid off. The fact that we just got a one-on-one match between Jade Cargill and Charlotte Flair is criminal. They've literally been staring at each other for 3 years. Ever since Jade Cargill hit the scene, they've just been looking at each other as they pass by in the aisle. Ooh, you got your feathers. Ooh, you think you're all big and bad? Like 3 years of that. The fact that they didn't have a one-on-one match at SummerSlam, I also feel is criminal. I love the fact that Chelsea Green won. She's a permanent champion. She's not an interim champion. I hated that shit. The fact that Rhea just did not vacate her championship, there wasn't a tournament for the two #1 contenders on both sides where it was Charlotte and Jade ending up in that final for a one-on-one match at SummerSlam, that sounds amazing. I do like the fact that Braun Breaker having his stare down at Oba, and then Oba wasn't even in the ring anymore and he was still staring down the aisle like Oba wasn't just in the back. I do like that because it seems like it's actually going somewhere. It seems like that stare down put a spark into Braun Breaker, and Braun Breaker's going after Obafemi. Perfect. Let's pay that off.
Oh my God!
Put the women in the main event of night 1 or night 2 of SummerSlam and WrestleMania. If you get to a point where you have a story that's not quite fitting of night 1 or night 2 because it doesn't have the type of gravitas because you didn't build it, whose fault is that? That's your fault. It's not the talent's fault. That's on you. You didn't invest enough in these women to give them a story worthy of the main event. You got to do that. You're creative. Put the same amount of effort that you put into a Seth Rollins and a Roman Reigns and the rest into your Baileys, Bianca Belairs, Naomi's, Io Sky's, Liv Morgan's, Becky Lynch, Rhea Ripley, obviously whenever she comes back from injury. You have a whole crop of brand new stars that you can build up for the main event. You have to have a good story to put them in the main event. And if you don't have a good enough story to put them in the main event, whose fault is that? That's your fault. Creative. It's not Liv's fault that she hasn't defended her championship. She don't make those decisions. You make those decisions. You decided to wait until Stephanie Vaquer and Becky Lynch were ready to come back before you decided to put her in a feud outside of EO. It doesn't make any sense. You have the ability to do it. You're just too lazy to put them where they belong. And that's in the main event scene.
Bailey stacks up Lyra. Becky from behind. A backslide. Becky retains.
Evolution should be every single year. Every single year. There's no reason not to have it every single year. One of the most disheartening things that happened last year, directly after Evolution 2, was Triple H saying, I don't really think we need this.
But I don't know that it has to be a particular night for them to be inspired by the women, because I think the women do that every single Monday, Tuesday, Friday.
The crowd was going crazy in Atlanta. Everybody was excited. Naomi cashed in. She also had a great match with Jade earlier in the night. The match between Becky Lynch, Lyra Valkyria, and Bayley was a great opening match, and it really showed me Becky's skills because she did that rollover pin over the arm and pinned Bayley upside down like that. That rollover pin was smooth as hell. People were saying last year that Evolution was the best PLE the WWE produced last year. You would decide not to have that again? Why? Because you're too lazy to actually build up the feuds for Evolution? It doesn't make any sense, yo. It really does. Every championship needs to be defended at WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Night of Champions, especially Night of Champions since it's the Night of the Champions. But for the other two, the big two, WrestleMania and SummerSlam, it doesn't really make sense for every championship to not be defended. These are the two shows that are the turning points for everybody's story. The fact that you even had this past SummerSlam, Tiffany Stratton in a ladder match instead of just defending the United States Championship against maybe a Jordan Grace or a Blake Monroe, who could be using that type of time on a PLE. It doesn't make any sense. Let's have all of the main roster championships defended, including the tag team championships, the mid-card championships, and obviously the major championships. You want them to have the prestige and you want people to actually believe that they matter, put them in a position to matter. I would like to see brand exclusive PLEs come back. And this goes back to my point of pushing stories forward. If you have a PLE that's just for Raw, and you have a PLE that's just for SmackDown, you can push those stories forward a lot faster than having to split that time between two different shows. And you have 5 matches, an odd number of matches per show. So one of these shows is only getting 2 matches. Sometimes one of these shows only gets 1 match. If you have just a PLE for SmackDown, you can take care of Carmelo and Trick's feud. You can do Cody and Punk. You can do Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I'm making up stuff. You could do Nick Aldis and Gunther. I'm just throwing names out there. None of this actually makes sense in terms of the stories that they're telling right now, but you understand what I'm saying. You're pushing the entire show forward all at one time, and you can flip-flop between the months of doing this. You have 12 months. We have 1 PLE every single month, switch between each one, and then you have your together PLEs like your WrestleMania, SummerSlams, Survivor Series, Money in the Bank as well. Speaking of the titles, the tag team titles specifically, the men's tag team titles, unify the titles. On the next PLE, whatever it is, have a unification match for the tag team titles, because you really don't need tag team championships for both Raw and SmackDown. Just having one set of tag team championships for the women made that division a lot of fun, because you had tag teams for women on both shows really invested in getting that championship, and it was the most fun the women's tag team titles have been in a long time. And if you would have had 2 tag team championships for the women relegated to both brands, it just would have been watered down. That's why you could have a Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss from SmackDown, Charlexa go up against Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. You were able to mix and mingle all these incredibly talented women and these incredibly talented teams, because these teams were stacked. Go in between each show, making this belt matter because there was only one. You could do the same thing for the men. You could have the Street Profits go up against Fraxium. You could have Fraxium go up against the Usos. Like, we can have an incredible tag team division if there was just one set of titles. More PLEs and more shows in general in Puerto Rico. You had one incredible show with Bad Bunny and Damian Priest and Zelina Vega, and even if they weren't necessarily from that country, the Puerto Rican crowd was live, they were hot, they were excited. If you can have a Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia, you can also have it in Puerto Rico. It's across the street, and it's less dangerous. This also might be controversial, I don't really care. Make AAA an official third main roster brand. AAA is somewhere in purgatory between the main roster and developmental. It's not developmental at all, but it's also not the main roster. So it's just kind of sitting there, and make it an official part of the WWE ecosystem in terms of a main roster. You're giving them a lot more shine, a lot more money. You're not interfering with them as much as a lot of people thought they would, including myself. I didn't know how it would go, right? Also, I wasn't really familiar with AAA before the WWE purchased them. But now that I've seen them, they're some of the most talented wrestlers on the planet, most talented luchadors on the planet. Make them an official third brand. Give them the type of money that you're putting into these other two shows. I'm glad that they have their hour-long show every Saturday, because it's a great time to do it. It's at 10 p.m. It's pre-recorded, all that good stuff. But eventually we need to give them the same type of prestige that Raw and SmackDown have, which is actually really interesting, because one could argue that AAA is better than Raw and SmackDown by the way that they construct their shows. It's very tight, concise, and everybody knows what's going on at all time. None of the characters feel out of place. Everybody knows what the story is. I would like to see AAA be seen in the same light in terms of importance as Raw and SmackDown. Editor Ken here. Apparently I never recorded number 21, so here it is for you. Fire Def Rebel. Def Rebel is awful. Now, sometimes they pull out some good joints, but for the most part, they are some mediocre AI generated bullshit. Just listen to Big Cass's theme from this past Monday, and it's some Metroid video game like generic bullshit, and it's just kind of like, all right, is he supposed to get over with this? Is this what he's supposed to get over with? In general, with the music scene, I don't understand some decisions, like the taking the ego out of Ethan Page's theme. Kills his aura entirely. He comes out ego, but now it's just like, kill him with a smile, and my understanding is that they took it out because like fans were saying something derogatory. When did we become such punks and bitches and pussies? Like when did that happen? Can we stop, please? Kurt Angle came out to You Suck for what, 20 years or something like that? It's Ethan Page. He wants all the booze. He's the type of pure heel that's like, yo, hit me with the booze. That way I know that I'm getting over. So the fact that we don't have ego anymore is ridiculous. So that's my 21 things I would do to improve the WWE. I want to know what you would change to make it better. Tell me if I'm crazy for the things that I suggested, or if you agree with the things I suggested. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe, share with a friend, like the video, help these videos get out to the world, and I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time.